Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the video, and today we are talking about contest selection, something I personally don't think enough people consider when they're playing DFS. Not enough new players consider when playing DFS, but it is very important. It is worth talking about. So I am going to talk about tournament selection as a whole. But I'm not going to take this video and say this is what you should be playing, um, because we all have different goals with the game that we are trying to accomplish, and with different goals comes different different contest types. But I want to kind of just break some things down in the lobby and talk about your contest selection and how you should go about playing each one. So, the first contest I am talking about is cash games, your 50-50s, your double ups, your head to head matches. I don't include triple ups and quintuple ups in cash games per se, because I think you have to play them a little bit differently, but we'll get to that later. So right now we're talking about 50-50s, double ups, head to heads, all that good stuff. So what does that mean? When you're playing in these types of contests, that means 50% of the field is going to get paid out. For every dollar you put into these contests, you get about $2 back. It doesn't matter if you finish in first. It doesn't matter if you finish in the bottom seeding payout. You're going to be making the same thing. So half the field is getting paid. If there's 200 people, the top 100 in that contest are doubling up their money. There is this old cliche golden rule in DFS that I hear a lot around, like the old heads in DFS saying you should be doing 80-20, 80% into these 50-50s and double ups, and 20% into tournaments. But again, that depends on your play style. 50-50s are a more quote unquote safer bet, because such a large percent of the field is getting paid out. You have at 50 good odds that you are going to make it to the top, especially in the lower stake games. I recommend to get into the largest field you can when it comes to these tournaments. I personally do not get into a lot of these head to heads, because I don't see it worth it with my bankroll. The amount I'm putting into the site really wouldn't pay for me to go into these types of contests, from a ROI standpoint. And I personally just don't find these very fun. I'd rather go play GPPs. But if you're somebody who wants to play safer lineups, and have just play the odds, then these are good tournaments for you. If you don't want to have to worry about ownership percentage and leverage, and you just want to play the safest, best plays, then this is the tournament for you. There is a lot of upside into playing cash games, especially if you're a beginner trying to grind things up. But personally, they're not for me. So now I want to talk about triple ups, kind of how they're different from these 50-50s and double ups. Triple ups are contests that you will see that say like top 5 win $10. You put in two, top five win 10. Again, a smaller percentage of the field's getting paid, but there is more upside. When you're building lineups for these types of contests, you do have to put in more consideration into leverage points and ownership projections, but you don't have to worry about it as much as a tournament. So you're going to play it close to your cash game lineup in your 50-50s and double ups, but you're going to have to make slight pivots because a smaller percentage of the field's getting paid, so you have to beat a wider range of the field. So you're going to have to get slightly different in some spots. That is the major difference. But you're still going to have a wider range to win win more often. So now we have to get into talking about GPPs. These are tournaments where the prize structure is staggered. So first gets the most, and then there's a min cash line, and then that's it. The people beneath the min cash line don't get paid. So GPPs are where I live. GPPs are for people who want a shot to 100x, 10x, 20x, 100x their money on a given night. With GPPs, you are going to lose more. That is just a fact. Because in GPPs, where we were talking about 50-50s and double ups, where 50% of the field is getting paid, in these types of GPPs, maybe it's 20 to 30% of the field is getting paid, right? So a smaller percentage of the field is getting paid, but you have the opportunity to make more when you do get paid. Now, how you have to play these GPPs depends on field size. So when we talk about GPPs, where the tournament is staggered, the larger the field, the more contrarian you are going to have to be, right? So what do I mean by that? If you are playing in super large fields, like some of these fields are 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, in those types of tournaments, you're going to have to be different, right? You are going to have to take more risk in these lineups. Take guys that are going to be lower owned, but have more upside. In these types of tournaments, if you're playing if you put your cash game lineups into these types of tournaments, you're not going to see a good return because you're just going to be leveled with the field. So these large field tournaments, they're a small deposit, $1 to like $10. But you're playing with a lot of people, so you have to make plays that are different. So when your plays that are different go off, it shoots you up the leaderboard. So because you have to take more risk, and because you are playing in a style tournament where a small percentage of the field is getting paid, you're going to lose more often. But when you win more. So if you're somebody who wants a low risk, low barrier of entry, then you play these tournaments, $1, $2, $3. Yeah. I personally don't put in 150 lineups into the 150 max entry tournaments. I'm more of a one max, two max, one to like three max player. I don't even really touch the 20 max. That's just personal preference. Um, I like to play the single entry to three max because I like focusing all my energy into just like one singular lineup. If I have to late swap in a tournament, it's much easier to do it in one to three lineups than it is in 150. But there is nothing wrong if you want to take a stab at a 150 entry tournament, but just understand there is no. I don't want to say there's no upside because you're getting 150 shots at first, but there is a lot of downside to playing 150 lineups. There are a lot of people out there under the impression that if you play 150 lineups that you're automatically going to win, which just isn't the case because there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of combinations you can play on DFS. So if you're playing in larger field, like I would say like 10,000 up, you're playing super large field, you're going to have to take more risks. This is where I love to play. I like to play in like the 10 cent, 25 cent tournaments with the upside to turn that into like a couple $100. Like that's where I land. And then there is the high stakes tournaments, which are like you could get into these tournaments for like $100 and up. Some are upwards of $1,000. I've never wanted to play in these high stake tournaments. I've never had the means to play in these high stake tournaments. But you're playing against less people, which in theory makes it easier to win. You are going to go against some of the sharper players in these lineups. But since you're playing with a smaller amount of people, you don't have to be as contrarian and as wild with your lineups. You could play closer to your cash game lineups in these tournaments because they are a smaller field tournament. But like I said, I've never been involved in the high stakes games. I'm not a high roller. I never will be a high roller. These aren't meant for me. But I definitely see the appeal in the high stakes games. So now I'm just going to kind of break down the payout structures in these tournaments and what I think you should be looking for. That I like to play in. I am very picky about the tournaments that I play in because I don't like to play in tournaments where a majority of the prize payout goes to first place. I like to I like to play in tournaments where like 10% is going to first. Um, so where there's more what they call a flat payout structure, where a small percentage is going to first and then a lot of it trickles down. So my rule of thumb is take the amount of total dollars in the tournament and remove a zero, and that's how much should go to first, right? So it's a $2,000 tournament. You remove a zero, 200 goes to first, and then remove another zero from that. That's how much 10th place gets paid, $20. Very good. We're there. And then this doesn't quite get you there. I like to play in tournaments where min cash will at least double your entry, but this doesn't quite do it. You have to finish just above the min cash line to double your entry. But just a rule of thumb, me personally, I don't. I like to play with 10% to first, 10% of first to 10th, and min cash line will about double your money. So that is all I have for you today. Big announcement. I am joining the people at America DFS. We are forming a little network, and it is really, really awesome. We are building out good things. So go ahead and follow our Twitter at America DFS. Link to that will be in the description box. I do more of the general strategy and DFS review, where I break down each lineup, each tournament that I'm in day by day. But we have people doing soccer, League of Legends, all that good stuff. Slate breakdowns for pretty much everything coming down the pike. Got good people doing soccer projections, got good people doing League of Legends and other esports. So go ahead, hit us up on Twitter. I will be there. A lot of great content providers will be there, and they're working hard and they're giving you great stuff for absolutely zero cost. So you have no reason not to join the America DFS Twitter page. As always, give it a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down and tell me how I could do better. I'll see you on the next one.